ESPN.com NBA guy, J.A. Adande here. All right, Deron Williams staying home. What does it mean?
Well, it means we can have the Nets in the conversation, is what somebody put it to me this morning when talking about Deron Williams and Joe Johnson, and they brought back Gerald Wallace as well, and with a healthy Brook Lopez. You can have them in the conversation. Maybe they're not top championship contenders, but they're a team that will make some noise in the Eastern Conference. In which it's not difficult to make a lot of noise. So you've got three guys that you can use as post-up threats. You've got Williams can post up small guards. Joe Johnson's a good guard post-up. You can go into Brook Lopez, too. Those guys can draw double teams in the low post and really diversify that offense.
You keep mentioning Brook Lopez. I mean, that's what we have now. You know, Dwight Howard, that he wants to be in there.
That's out there. Lopez. I'm operating under this, and they're operating under, even if they don't get Dwight Howard, with this group, they can have a top team. If you get Dwight Howard, then you really change the conversation. You're talking about them in terms of championship contenders.
Okay, well, let's operate in the present. How far can this team go? Talking playoffs against the Heat, against the Celtics in the East. Where would you put them?
Well, I think you're back to where Joe Johnson always was, which was the second round of the playoffs with the Atlanta Hawks, which was somewhat of a disappointment, felt like a ceiling, but it's almost like a springboard for this team because it's so much better than what they've been dealing with. Deron Williams really hasn't been deep in the playoffs except for that one run that he had with the Utah Jazz. But now you've got more around him. And, again, you've got a wide-open conference outside of the Heat. So they're really in business right now.
Why do you think he ultimately made the decision to stay?
He was comfortable there. He liked New York. He wanted to see what they were doing. New Jersey he wasn't crazy about, but he lived in the city. Now they're going to be in the midst of a developing area in Brooklyn, new arena, something to be excited about, energized fan base, as opposed to that lame duck team that they had in New Jersey for the past couple of years. And let's not forget the money factor. Always follow the money in the NBA. And in this case, they could give him an extra year and an extra $20 million that no other team could do. So staying home made sense for the Nets.
Yeah, while you were talking, they were telling me 5 years, $100 million. That's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, you can even afford a nice place in New York with that kind of money.
Yeah, you can. Maybe like 2 or 3.
You might even get a closet.
Okay, with that kind of money, how can they afford, and I'm bringing Dwight Howard back into the mix, how can they afford all 3 to make the new big 3?
Well, ownership doesn't mind spending that kind of money, and it would be very expensive. You're talking about a $60 million outlay for those 3 per year, and you add on Gerald Wallace, all of a sudden you're in the luxury tax just with those guys. So they're not averse to paying that much money. And this could come when you add in all the luxury tax penalties and everything. You could be looking at spending $140 million a year, somewhere in that vicinity. But Mikhail Prokhorov has signed off on it. I've told that money is not the issue here. So if they want to really contend, they're willing to spend the money to do it.
Okay, let's project a little bit. Let's go back to my question before with the present lineup against the likes of the Heat and the Celtics. Add Dwight Howard to the mix if the trade as constituted goes through. Where does Brooklyn rank in the East?
Well, I'm still putting them behind the Miami Heat, at least for year 1, because we have to see how they fit together. Okay. Miami Heat did a great job in getting to the finals, but we saw it took some adjustment. You saw how Dwayne Wade had to step back a little bit in year 2 and let LeBron take over. So getting used to playing with one another, it doesn't just happen instantly. The Boston Celtics were really the aberration. It had been the first time in 30 years that you saw a franchise win an NBA championship after not winning a playoff series a year before. So to come out of nowhere and get all the way to the championship is very rare. But for the Miami Heat to do it in year 2 is impressive, and I think it would be a little bit easier in this case because you have a true point guard to distribute the ball. You have a center, you have more defined roles as opposed to the Heat, where you had LeBron and Dwayne Wade, who were somewhat similar and had to figure out a way to make it work. I think it would work a little bit faster in this case, but again, champions just don't happen overnight in the NBA.
Deron Williams staying home, 5 years, $100 million. He is a Brooklyn Net. He is J.A. Adande. Thank you, sir.
I'm not a $100 million guy either.
No, because if you were, I'd ask you for some cash.